This is Reverse, Reset, Restore, the podcast that aims to help you reverse some of your belief systems and their impact on your mind and body, reset your thoughts, and restore your life now. I'm your host, Sally, a recovering self-saboteur on a journey to rediscover my true self. Change comes from within. Welcome to the show. I am so thrilled that you're here with me today. This is part 2 of looking at how we silence ourselves with self-sabotaging behaviours. In episode 9, we looked at some of the reasons why people self-sabotage and walked through some of the signs of what self-sabotage may look like. If you already listened to that episode, you may have identified some habits in your life that are geared towards stopping you from achieving your goals, finding success, or obstructing you from having healthy and fulfilling relationships. If you haven't yet listened to that episode, I encourage you to check it out if looking into your reasons for self-sabotaging is something you're keen to consider. Some of the reasons why we may find ourselves in self-sabotage mode include fear of failure or success, feeling unworthy, childhood trauma, fear of rejection or getting hurt, a need to strive for perfection, having low self-esteem. These are just to name a few. As I look back over the list from our last episode, I have to note that I have employed all of those self-sabotaging tactics in my life. It's quite confronting to realize just how many ways you can employ to self-harm, which is what self-sabotage is all about. It's hurting yourself. Now, I don't know about you, but I have been a master of this. Sometimes I have been fully aware of my actions, knowing that I'm undermining myself, my successes, my relationships. What I have come to recognize is that our self-sabotaging habits come out of all the negative ways we think, feel, and believe about ourselves that are then put into practice by adopting these destructive behaviors. We also went over a number of ways in which you can self-sabotage, and these included things like having a lack of boundaries, being involved in relationships that are toxic, creating roadblocks in your life, and comparing yourself to others. Again, in all of the 16 examples I gave, I know that I have faithfully practiced them all to my own detriment. You may recognize the ways in which you self-harm, just like I did. If so, don't feel despondent or start judging yourself, because that is keeping you in self-sabotage mode and you don't deserve that. The reality is, no one is exempt from practicing self-sabotage in one form or another. We all do it. Even the most successful of people, the most famous, the most well-known, seemingly have it all together people have moments of indulging our self-sabotaging monsters. And that's okay. We are all human, and it's natural to be driven by our fears, thoughts, or beliefs sometimes. It's the understanding that we can do something about it, even in the moment or out of it, to make different choices and change our life. Self-sabotaging is just another way that we are ultimately silencing ourselves. It comes out of a place of fear and pain. And most of us do not like to be presented with our pain. Most of us go out of our way to avoid it. We do everything we can to ignore our feelings in particular. And the ways we predominantly do that is in our actions. Self-sabotaging is rooted in acting out the underlying currents of our feelings and beliefs. When we self-sabotage, we are reinforcing erroneously our beliefs and thoughts and feelings about ourselves. We are stifling who we are because we ultimately have lost ourselves to the negative traits of humanity. We've forgotten who we truly are, silencing the best parts of ourselves in the process. It's time to break the silence. Are you ready? Let's do it together, okay? We're going to take a look at some of the ways you can stop self-sabotaging behavior from ruling your life. Number 1, increase self-awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts, feelings, and behaviours. Notice when you engage in self-sabotaging patterns and identify your triggers. This is the notice the noise technique I discussed in episode 5, Thoughts Are the Stories We Tell Ourselves. When you begin to pay attention or increase your awareness of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviours, you are positioned to then make the necessary changes to free yourself from these self-sabotaging behaviours. Remember that change comes from within. Choose to no longer entertain thoughts that are unhelpful. Number 2, challenge your negative self-talk. Replace negative and self-defeating thoughts with positive and empowering ones. Practice self-compassion and remind yourself of your strengths and past successes. Just as you can have a negative go-to sentence that can have you spiral down further into a mindset of woe is me and self-sabotage, you can create some standby positive sentences or reminders to combat the negative ones when they attack. Number 3, set realistic goals. Break down your goals into smaller, achievable steps to avoid feeling overwhelmed. Setting unrealistic expectations can lead to self-sabotage. By implementing small, achievable goals that you know you can stick with into your daily life, you'll not only reach them, but you'll make them part of your daily habits. Realistic goals can replace old behaviours with new ones that can help you avoid self-sabotage. Whatever goals you choose, make them realistically doable and meaningful to you. Don't try to do a goal that suits someone else that isn't at a level that you can achieve. You're only setting yourself up for failure. Number 4, make small changes. Similar to setting realistic goals, making small changes allows you to focus on one area where you want to change. If you try to change everything, you'll overwhelm yourself, and that opens you up to self-sabotaging and giving up. Once you have successfully implemented a change, you can start on changing another area. By doing this in small, manageable ways, you'll not only find you can incorporate these changes for the long term, but it will boost you to see that you can change. There's a great expression which I like to remind myself of, which is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Number 5, lean into your strengths. If you have a passion, interest, or affinity for something, do more of it. Doing things that you are good at or confident doing or just really enjoy and get a lot of pleasure from will help you stop self-sabotaging in its tracks. Number 6, develop self-care practices. Prioritize self-care activities that nurture your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. This includes getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising, and engaging in activities you enjoy. Carving out space in your day for you and only you will not just be of benefit to yourself, but to others in your life as well. Number 7, surround yourself with positive influences. Build a supportive network of people who uplift and encourage you. Limit your interactions with those who bring you down or enable self-sabotaging behaviours. I have learnt that sometimes the friendships you think you're going to have forever don't last forever because you kind of outgrow each other or you just go in different directions, and that's absolutely okay. So for example, if you're into a partying lifestyle and all your friends are into partying lifestyles as well, but you want to move away from that, it can be really hard to do so when you're constantly surrounding yourself with the people who contribute to that kind of lifestyle. So it may be time to look at, who do I have in my life that is influencing me for my good, or maybe keeping me at the current level that I'm at now. You could look into ways to develop new friendships with people who are going to help grow you. I know that that's quite a challenging thing to say, just go out and make some new friends, because it's not always that easy or that simple. It's about building connections with people who are like-minded and going in the direction that you also want to go. Sometimes it does mean, this whole growing thing, that we have to actually mindfully release some of the friendships or relationships that we've had that are really keeping us in this holding pattern rather than letting us live our true life. Sometimes there are people in our lives that we just can't share this sort of personal journey that we're going through because they don't have the capacity to understand it or accept it for themselves or for anyone else. And that's okay as well. We're all in this together, but we're all doing separate things, if that makes sense. So if you're finding that, I'm noticing that I want to change, but my friendships are kind of keeping me stuck in this holding pattern, then maybe it's time to look at ways that you can limit your interactions or reduce the time, or maybe completely cut off some of those people from your life if they really are doing you a disservice. That's something that you're going to have to figure out for yourself, what it is that you really, truly want. And are the people in your life that you're surrounding yourself with going to be capable and able and genuinely present to help you create that life? Some people are going to be roadblocks in our existence because they can't handle change for anybody. They can't do it for themselves, so they certainly can't be there for you and see you change. That can be a really scary thing. So something that you may have to consider is, am I really hanging out with the people that are going to be giving me the best opportunities for personal growth and development so I can really fall in love with who I am? Or am I going to be keeping myself stuck? Number 8, practice mindfulness. Cultivate mindfulness through meditation or other mindfulness exercises. That could include you spending some time journaling or just sitting and contemplating things that are going on in your life, or just whatever it is you need to do to make yourself present. By staying present in the moment, in the here and now, you can become more aware of what your self-sabotaging tendencies are and choose alternative responses. Number 9, seek professional help. Consider working with a therapist or a coach who can help you explore the underlying causes of self-sabotage and develop strategies to overcome it. Number 10, have an action plan. I mentioned this under challenge negative self-talk when suggesting having positive sentences to replace negative ones. By having an action plan, you have forward planned what to do when hit with a bout of self-sabotaging. So, for example, if you know that once you sit down at night in front of the TV, you won't get up and go for that 20-minute walk that you promised yourself you'd do, you plan to go for the walk maybe right after eating your dinner or right after you get home from work. Having an action plan in place allows you to choose different ways of being and doing in your life. It means that when you are likely to self-sabotage the most, you already have a new way of dealing with that so that it reduces your self-sabotaging behavior. Number 11, celebrate successes. Acknowledge and celebrate your accomplishments, no matter how small they may seem. This helps build your confidence and reinforces positive behaviors. Share these wins with people who will support you and encourage you. Now, one of the things that I used to do was to have a large jar where I would write down all the good things that happened to me, no matter how small. Anything that made me feel good, valued, loved, happy. And then at the end of the year, I would open up that jar and read through all those notes. You'll be surprised how many good things you have forgotten about. And you'll get the added bonus of a feel-good moment reviewing the beautiful moments of the year you've had going into the year you're about to begin. Number 12, pick yourself up and move on. Are you going to stumble, fumble, and fall back into self-sabotage? Yep, yes, you will. And that's okay. Pick yourself back up and keep going. Like any new behavior, it takes time to make it a habit. And like any old habit, it can take time to replace it. You will have days when your old habits come out in full force and sweep you up in it. It happens. All you need to do, once you're aware that you've fallen into the self-sabotage trap of your own making, is to make the choice to get out of it. Make sure this is a judgment-free zone. You are always learning, growing, and rediscovering ways to love yourself. This is hard when you've been so used to operating out of a place of silencing yourself every which way. Remember, overcoming self-sabotage is a process. It takes time and effort. Be patient with yourself and celebrate every step forward. Thank you for taking this time with me, and I hope that you'll consider how you can use any of these recommendations in this episode to stop silencing yourself in your life. If you use any of these techniques or you have another one that you'd love to share with me, I would love to hear what has worked for you. Please let me know by following me on my Insta or Facebook pages, Reverse Reset Restore. This episode's quote comes from the beautiful, thoughtful, and wise Louise Hay. As you go about your day, your weekend, your week, I hope these words stick with you. Maybe you'll even feel encouraged enough to try her suggestion out for yourself, incorporating some of the strategies suggested here. You have been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens.